install the Edge Transport Server rule. But before we begin, let's take a look at the current configuration of the Exchange organization that I have currently. I have two servers, one called exchnew and the other called exchnew2, and both of these servers run the client access rule, the hub transport rule, and the mailbox transport rule, the mailbox rule. And I'm going to install the Edge rule on a server called Edge. Now it should be noted that all mail flow to and from the internet is handled by the hub transport servers that are listening in on port 25. This is going to change when we install the Edge transport rule, as we will see later on. So to begin with our installation, notice that on the Edge server computer, it is not part of the domain. In fact, it is part of a workgroup, so it is a standalone machine. Let's proceed with the Edge server installation. Notice that if I try to ping any of the Exchange servers or any computer on the domain, I get no response because this computer is not part of the domain. So I'm going to continue with the wizard, accepting the license agreements. And then I'm going to select Custom Server Installation to select the rule that I would like to install. In this case, we're going to install the Edge Transport rule. We're going to select to install the Edge Transport rule. Exchange should then perform some readiness checks. So some of the prerequisites checks did not pass, and one is that the domain name for the computer is either missing or empty, and the other is that Active Directory Lightweight Services needs to be installed. Let's firstly install the Lightweight Directory Service. We can view recommended action, which will tell us what we need to do in the Microsoft Online Help files. So I'm going to run this particular command that is provided in the Microsoft Online Help. This can also be run in the Windows Add Remove Rules or Features applet. So I'm going to run that command. And while it is running, let's take a look at the second error listing that the fully qualified domain name of the computer is missing or empty. And we see on the Microsoft Help file that the DNS suffix needs to be set on the local computer, and to do that we go to the properties of my computer name, and then under the More tab we select the DNS suffix and NetBIOS computer name, and we enter the DNS suffix for the domain. So under the computer name properties we click the More tab, and then we enter the primary DNS suffix. So the DNS suffix for my domain is dev-tt.com. I'm going to press OK, and then I'm going to restart the computer. Notice that the computer name changes with the DNS suffix domain name. However, it still is a part of a workgroup and is not a member of the domain. So now after we rerun Exchange setup, we see that we have now fulfilled the prerequisites for installing the Edge Transport rule, in that we have installed the DNS suffix for the computer name, and we've also installed Lightweight Directory Services. So I'm going to click on Install now to install the Edge Transport rule. And so after the wizard completes, Exchange 2010 Edge Transport Server rule has been installed, and this is what it looks like. And it looks pretty much the same as a hub transport rule, and also you can configure accepted domains and transport rules just like hub transport servers. However, in addition, you also have the anti-spam section with familiar items such as content filtering and sender and recipient filtering and sender ID that you may have seen in previous versions of Exchange, like Exchange 2003. For example, the content filtering uses the same intelligent message filtering as in Exchange 2003. with spam confidence levels or SCL ratings for email messages that are received from the internet and can be filtered. So if I go to properties and content filtering, I can specify custom words on emails, and I can also see settings for specific spam score levels. After the Edge Transport rule is installed, we can also continue to install the antivirus component, which is Forefront Protection for Exchange 2010 server. So I've downloaded the file, and now I'm going to attempt to run the Forefront Protection 2010 for Exchange server. But before we continue, it's important to note that the Edge Transport servers and the Hub Transport servers need to be able to locate each other by hostname resolution. So in DNS, I've created a host record for the Edge Transport role. So I'm going to add this host record. And similarly, on the Edge Transport role, I've created the applicable host records in the host file on the Edge Transport server. So I've created host records for both my Hub Transport servers, as you see here. And one final step to retrieve Active Directory information is to create an Edge subscription in one of your Hub Transport servers. So I've logged out to a Hub Transport server. Now I'm going to select New Edge Subscription, and then I'm going to select the Active Directory site for the local default site, and also back on the Edge Transport server, we need to export the Edge server role to an XML file, and this is done by running the following command. When this command is run, an XML file will be created that contains the Edge server role configuration, and this file has to be imported into the Hub Transport Edge subscription wizard. And now back on the Hub Transport server, we can browse and select the Edge subscription XML file. Click on New to initiate the process of Edge subscription. And refresh, and we will see that the Edge subscription has been created. To force an initial AD synchronization to the Edge server, we can run the following command on the Hub Transport server. After running the command, we see the result as success. We can also run the following command to verify configuration replication for a particular user called Mary. Another way to test synchronization with your Edge server is by running the start Edge synchronization command. You can create a test user, delete a test exchange user, and verify that on the recipient configuration results you've seen an added or removed object. So for example, if I run back the start Edge synchronization command, I have seen one object being added and one deleted, which is in fact the case because I recently added an Exchange 2010 user, and I also deleted another Exchange 2010 user. So this is just another way to verify synchronization is working. So back on the Edge server, let's complete the installation for the Forefront Exchange 2010 protection.